Hit her with the 1 and 2. Hit her with the 1 and 2. I don't care what she gotta say. I hit her with the 1 and 2. Hit her with the 1 and 2. Now she do. Hit her with the. Hit her with the. Okay, phone right here. Boom. What we watching on YouTube today, guys? Oh my God! It's like. I think it'll be more appropriate. It'll be more appropriate if we watch New Rockstars. Real talk. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, real talk. Because we finally watched Agatha All Along yesterday. So that'll be the next best thing to watch. I can watch Screen Crush and spoiler review or whatever the name thing is called. I can watch that on my own. But we're gonna watch New Rockstar. For that, since Dante didn't cover that, but he covered the Thunderbolts trailer breakdown. Well, both of them actually. So. This is what we're finna do. Yeah, we're gonna watch New Rockstar. Fuck that. And we watched all 3 episodes last night. I really wanted to abandon ship and just watch the first 2. But nah.
Surprise for you.
Oh, yes.
Feast your eyes on this.
That's sexy. Feels so new.
I want to feel this feeling
Okay.
again and again.
Can I hold it?
How bad do you want to hold it?
In a bag.
Go ahead. Press the button.
Oh, it's glowing.
Intelligence.
We kept revealing the buzz with the new iPhone 16 Pro models. And feel it again and again with the latest iPhone every year with AT&T Next Up Anytime.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Jessica Clemens, and during D23 they released a new Agatha All Along trailer. I love it so much. It's so scary. It's so witchy. Each trailer gets better and better, and we still don't know if Wanda's in it. We're going to go through this trailer scene by scene to see all those hidden details you might have missed, and I'm going to teach you a thing or two on the brand. But first, be sure to check out nerdride.shop where you can find the latest and greatest New Rockstars merch. Yeah, we have Deadpool Wolverine merch, but we also have Agatha shirts. Supporting the channel through nerdride.shop and through the merch is a great way to support us while we're working with all these breakdowns and random things to do. Alright, now let's get into it. You see a tired Agatha. This scene we got a longer clip of the teaser trailer released a month ago. This shows Agatha, a cop, pulling up to a crime scene. Because of death was blunt force trauma, and we're relieved that's Wanda around. This is the style of HBO's Mayor of Easttown, starring Kate Winslet as a detective in a Philly suburb investigating a missing murder. Agatha is a detective investigating a crime with Juan Maxwell, but from past teaser trailer footage, it's clear she's stuck living in this fabricated nightmarish hellscape where she's a detective solving an unsolvable mystery. The audio is overlapped with the narration from Teen, who we know will be Joe Locke's character in the series. They even referred to him as Teen during D23, so he'll be known as the Tune for now, I assume. And fingers crossed we'll get the monitors with him by the end of the Witch's Road. Hence the intro of the trailer being grainy VHS distorted effects and flashbacks from WandaVision that might suggest this is her memories fighting the return as she's living life as a detective. You see the reveal that this is Agatha all along, her episode 7 of WandaVision, her talking with Vision, and over the footage we hear clips from Agatha all along. Played during the episode 7 reveal montage. I like all the visions and flashbacks past Agatha and WandaVision is distorted, but not until the final fight does it cut to black like the end of a tape before the loud black and white screeching, as though Wanda made sure that's as far as her memories go or Vision's came out. Agatha grabs for the ropes that's not there, those herself is coming back, and is clawing her way out. And Joe Locke's character asks, what really happened to you? And this goes beyond WandaVision. We want to know where it began and what made her curious enough to betray her covenant and want every bit out. Got a shot where you find the latest and greatest in Rockstar's merch. Yeah, we have Deadpool and Wolverine merch, but we also have Agatha shirts. Supporting the channel through Never I Got Shop and through the merch that we're supporting us and all the work that we do. We're working on these right now. Alright, now let's get into it. You see a tired Agatha. This scene, we got a longer clip of the teaser trailer released a month ago. This shows Agatha, a cop, pulling up to a crime scene. Because the death was blunt force trauma, and we're believed that's Wanda on the ground. This is the style of HBO's Mayor of Easttown, starring Kate Winslet as a detective in a Philly suburb investigating a grisly murder. Agatha is a detective investigating a crime with linked to Wanda Maximoff, but from past teaser trailer footage, it's clear she's stuck living in this fabricated nightmarish hellscape, which is the detective solving an unsolvable mystery. How does overlap with the narration from Team, who we know from Joe Locke's character in the series? They even refer to him as Team during D23, so he'll be known as the Team from now on. And fingers crossed, we'll get the model of King by the end of the Witch's Road. Hence, the intro of the trailer being grainy VHS distorted effects of flashbacks and WandaVision that might suggest this is her memories fighting to return as she's living life. You see the reveal that this is Agatha all along from episode 7 of WandaVision, her talking with Vision, and over the footage we hear clips from Agatha all along. Played during the episode 7 reveal montage. I like all the visions or flashbacks past Agatha when WandaVision is distorted, but not until the final fight does it cut to black like the end of a tape before the loud black and white screeching, as though Wanda made sure that's as far as her memories go or Vision's came out. Agatha grabs for the ropes that's not there, those scenes her past self is coming back, and like Rio says, is clawing her way out. Then Joe Locke's character asks, what really happened to you? And this goes beyond WandaVision. We want to know where it began and what made her curious enough to betray her covenant and want every bit out.
Every little bit of power I had.
A bell rings and takes us to the Marvel intro logo. Then we get the Ballad of the Witch's Road, which will be the new Agatha all along. The Coven performed this during D23, Catherine Hahn, Alice Hahn, Deborah Jo Rupp, Patti LuPone, Sashir Zamata, and Jay Locke. The song was written by the Oscar-winning team of Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, the same duo that did the songs for WandaVision, as well as the Disney Pixar films like Frozen, Frozen 2, and Coco. The song says, "Seeketh thou the road to all that's foul and fair." We know they're seeking and seeking the Witch's Road, but asserting it's foul and fair, to my interpretation, it means the road will show you things you don't want to see, but once you've overcome the ferocities, you'll get what you want. Scooper, can we get some toast mentioned? You can't enter the Witch's Road without a coven and singing a song. So if it's true, they can't enter the Witch's Road without singing this song in the first place. Then we get the toe tag. This was a while back during the teaser trailer as well. It's not your normal ID tag, but a card for a library book.
You say, girl, I know. You a little too tight. I'm shooting that shot like 2K, girl, I know.
Come on, man.
Bottom says State of New Jersey Public Library, Westview Branch, number 53961. Right when Agatha says,
She took every little bit of power I had.
we see her name slowly fade into existence, W. Maximoff, right next to October 13th. It was hard finding a reason for the 13th other than Friday the 13th. WandaVision said after the clip, the Battle of Earth is supposed to be on October 23rd, 2023, and then MCU timeline, and Multiverse of Madness is November 2024. So it's hard to settle exactly where the 13th lands. However, December 28th is Louis' birthday, and Elizabeth Olsen's birthday is February 16th, and Jack Kirby's is the 28th of August, so it could just be shoutouts to that. I personally like to believe that the other dates are actually the people meant to be a part of Agatha's coven, maybe significant moments in their lives. It might also just be a surprise, and the writers actually stuck just this.
I'm someone in coven. You gotta get back on top. I'm gonna walk the road. Join me.
We We get a small van entering Westview. The town looks empty. Trees are growing over the houses. It almost looks like they're growing through some of them. It's always looked pretty broke down from the Westview welcome sign that says ironically, home, it's where you make it. But if you look closer, the population says 2,281. When Wanda messed it up in episode 8 of WandaVision, it said 3,892. So 1,641 people have since left Westview after WandaVision. Why not all of them? The song continues, gather sisters, fire, water, earth, and air. While the song plays, we see the new perspective coven, starting with Shazir Zamata's character, Jennifer Kale, a sorceress, and in the Marvel Comics, a long-time figure who first appeared in Man-Thing comics from 1972, and most recently, the current 2023 Scarlet Witch run by Steve Orlando. She's working in her station at a fragrance or skin or hair boutique, which in some ways works like an apothecary, like a witch's apothecary, potion making. She's wearing this emblem that has a spider on it but mimics the face behind her. This could just be a charm to accessorize herself with her craft. Then we see Joe Locke's teen outside of Agatha's home holding Signor Scratchy that we saw in WandaVision. We see Ali Ong's Alice. All of the girls are wearing pendants or charms throughout the trailer that may align with their craft. Then Patty LuPone in her kitchen next to the refrigerator. This calendar on the fridge is for November, but of course there's no year dated. And I think it could still be 2024. Multiverse of Madness takes place 1 year after WandaVision, fall of 2024, and I assume this series might take place right after the events of Multiverse of Madness, after Wanda dies, seeing as everyone keeps reminding us how Wanda's dead. We see her dead body, the victim died of blunt force trauma, aka the falling of Wondergore, and Rio mentions she's gone. Agatha then says, join me, holding a piece of paper. On the paper is the Three of Pentacles, a tarot card, which can often represent or describe group work. Seeing as this is an eviction notice, that means someone might have just been kicked from their coven, and Agatha's persuading them to join hers. From the teaser trailer, this scene is between Joe Locke's character and Patty LuPone's Lila Kudrow. So it looks like Kudrow might have been kicked from her last coven, which makes sense why she remarked,
What witch in her right mind would join Agatha Harkness's coven?
Then we get this bell again, which segued us from the trailer to the Marvel logo earlier. Agatha strikes the bell, and we can see the stoic design. This is perhaps a version of a protection bell. Protection bells usually are made in clusters, or at least that's how my aunt had made them. They're like witches' bells used for protection. The ringing bell will act as a warning to negative energies, though it can be used like a focus point to hone in and deepen your spiritual connection. However, this bell has devils or gargoyles on it, linked by their horns, so this is probably of the same essence, but instead of using the bell sound as a warning, they're using a devil or dark demonic figure as a guide. This trailer is full of people possession, so I'm not surprised Agatha uses a devil-encrusted bell like a tuning fork. Agatha continues singing Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power, Earthly and Divine. Darkest Hour refers to the witching hour, a time of night that is connected to supernatural events. Earthly and Divine, to me, translates as powers linked to Earth and a practice of divination, which we know we're getting with Aubrey Plaza's character Rio and Lilia Calderos, who specializes in divination. Delete Me is a hands-free subscription service that helps you reduce the risk .com/rockstars and use promo code rockstars at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com. .com/rockstars and use code rockstars. Thank you, Delete Me, for sponsoring this portion of the video. Then Joe Locke's character says the Witch's Road will give you what you want most if you make it to the end. We don't know what this character wants most, but a lot of folks on the internet believe he's speaking about his brother, who, if this is Billy, Tommy has yet to be seen. There's a theory or chance the teen is our Billy/Wiccan, and in that case, if he was originally the child that Wanda possessed or fabricated into reality, this one might not have powers after Wanda died, or just wants to know what he's missing as that little piece of him maybe disappeared under Wondergore. I think he just wants answers that aren't actually linked to Wanda, but maybe to Agatha at the end of the day. At this point in the trailer, we see Agatha's new brooch. Originally, it was the Three Graces. Now it's the Triple Goddess, the Maiden, the Mother, and her Throne, which comes into play on the Ballad of the Witch's Road song. After claiming the road as a death wish, a figure claws its way out of the ground like Wanda in Multiverse of Madness. Quickly, Alice pulls a notebook and starts shuffling through it. We know that Lilia is a sidekick using tarot and divination in her mundane normal life. Jennifer Kale might be potion making based off her apothecary. This could mean Alice uses protection spells. From what we saw, she's actually a security guard according to set photos from last year. Maybe her powers is an actual security like protection and the guidance of spells.
Seashells by the seashore, she's so seashell. I want to engage the team.
I want to work for you.
I don't want to be underestimated.
I want to close this deal.
I wanted to think really big on this one, guys. I really want my words to impact them.
Put in your best effort and go for the A, but remember, I want you to focus on growth over grades. I love it.
Right?
Perfect.
They call it why. We say yes to ourselves, right?
I'm obsessed. Love your work.
Thank you.
I love this class.
Out of the dirt like a decayed zombie, cracking every bone back into position is Aubrey Plaza's Rio. She also has a giant spider on her shoulder. Rio's outfit is designed to represent nature, the leaf jacket and webbed gloves. She's absolutely the Green Witch. As a Green Witch, she has a better connection to Earth, which could be intertwined with the Witch's Road, giving her a better understanding, connection, or idea of what to expect on the Witch's Road. When she appeared, the mushrooms lit up, and so did the tree. This could be her using her powers to travel through the earth. You can tell by her demeanor she's terrifying, creepy, a little bit weird, but also down for the shenanigans. I also like how all of their outfits are kind of mirrored from their outfits in D23, photographed by People magazine. Sashira wears pink like her character. Aubrey Plaza wears a giant spider and web like her Spidey friend on her outfit. Patty LuPone and her character are both wearing big two-piece bodysuits, like pantsuits almost, where a 400-year-old Sicilian witch practicing tarot may wear something like this. Patty LuPone is absolutely wearing something like this. And Deborah Jo Rupp wears green, and we don't see her throughout the remaining of the trailer when Rio is there, and I suspect she's actually been Rio this entire time, aka her
Get the fuck out of here. No. I wish.
See what they're playing for, or at least the trials they may be entering. The trees start to fade away as the camera turns to a golden beach house. It looks like sand tracks right to the house or hotel. There's also a cabin in the woods where I suspected the 80s themed clips we've seen take place. A giant hourglass spins into position, a very witchy and ancient device to measure time that can often symbolize the human lifespan, like in The Wizard of Oz, which brings us to Agatha as the Wicked Witch. This room looks like their next trial, and the swords at the top, like she says in the narration, on their knowledge of the craft, and maybe they'll do a little, call back to the craft. It's big. A sword falls from above. This, I'm sure, is linked to another crafty symbolism, and I thought it could represent the upright Ten of Swords, which represents painful endings and betrayal. Maybe one of these witches don't make it to the end of their trials and stay on the Witch's Road. What's even better here is not only is Agatha the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz, her outfit looks like the Shiz University outfit Alphaba wears. Jennifer Kale is the evil queen from Snow White, holding an apple in her hair as white threads.
Sorry, y'all. Hold on.
I say, where's my fucking lighter, bro? Shit always be where I don't eat it. So bring up.
Give me this shit. Give me a sip. Oh, yes, bitch. I was about to pop open the bottle, but I forgot it's still early. It's 10:24, which is kind of early, so fuck that.
Witchy and ancient device to measure with shenanigans. I also like how all of their outfits are kind of mirrored.
Big Cat Joe.
23 photographed by People magazine. So she
Oh, I got all three of them.
Betty LuPone and her character are both wearing big two-piece bodysuits, like pantsuits almost, where a 400-year-old Sicilian witch practicing tarot may wear something like this. Betty LuPone is absolutely wearing something like this. And Deborah Jo Rupp wears green, and we don't see her throughout the remaining of the trailer when Rio is there, and I suspect she's actually been Rio this entire time, aka the
I don't get the pick, I get all three. Stop.
See what they're playing for, or at least the trials they may be entering. The trees start to fade away as the camera turns to a golden beach house. It looks like sand tracks right to the house or hotel. There's also a cabin in the woods where I suspected the 80s eclipse will take place. A giant hourglass is in the position, a very witchy and ancient device to measure time that can often symbolize the human lifespan. Like in The Wizard of Oz, which brings us to Agatha as the Wicked Witch. This room looks like their next trial, and the swords at the top, like she says in the narration, it will test them in their knowledge of the craft, aka witchcraft, and maybe they'll do a little, callback to the craft. A sword falls from above. This, I'm sure, is linked to another crafty symbolism, and I thought it could represent the upright Ten of Swords, which represents painful endings and betrayal. Maybe one of these witches don't make it to the end of their trials and stays on the witch's road. What's even better here is not only symbolism, and I thought it could represent the upright Ten of Swords, which represents painful endings and betrayal. Maybe one of these witches don't make it to the end of their trials and stays on the witch's road. What's even better here is not only is Agatha the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz often symbolize the human lifespan, like in The Wizard of Oz, which brings us to Agatha as the Wicked Witch. This room looks like their next trial, and the swords at the top, like she says in way as the camera turns to a golden beach house. It looks like sand tracks right to the house or hotel. There's also a cabin in the woods where I suspected the 80s themed clips we've seen take place. A giant hourglass spins into position, a very witchy and ancient device to measure time that can often symbolize the human lifespan, like in The Wizard of Oz, which brings us to Agatha as the Wicked Witch. This room looks like their next trial, and the swords at the top, like she says in the narration, it will test them in their knowledge of the craft, aka witchcraft, and maybe they'll do a little, callback to the craft. It's my favorite. A sword falls from above. This, I'm sure, is linked to another crafty symbolism, and I thought it could represent the upright Ten of Swords, which represents painful endings and betrayal. Maybe one of these witches don't make it to the end of their trials and stay on the witch's road. What's even better here is not only is Agatha the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz, her outfit looks like the Shiz University outfit Alphaba wears. Jennifer Keel is the evil queen from Snow White, holding an apple, and her hair is white with dreads, and I love it. Lilia is clearly Glinda the Good Witch. Then we see a possessed Agatha Harkness floating, holding herself to the ceiling. This kind of outfit, really beats for me. I really like this. I might steal this design. This scene Scarlet Witch updates mentioned is mimicking the scene from Poltergeist. Then later, the scene is a callback to The Exorcist. During the spider walk at the top of the cabin, you can see the phases of the moon. Moon phases play a huge part in witchcraft. We see it again when they're walking across the bridge that I suspect leads to the castle from the last teaser trailer. Then again when entering the 60-ish room. When we see the phases, it's always around the teen and Agatha. We don't really see the rest of the gang cross that bridge. Agatha now wears the Triple Goddess brooch, and the Triple Goddess represents different times in a woman's life, but is also associated with the 3 phases of the moon: the waxing, the full moon, and the waning moon. The waning crescent is the 8th and final phase in the cycle, so this could represent the aggressive trials were meant to end with Agatha. Everyone's in their groovy 60s, 70s wardrobe. In the back,
Feeling healthy by leaps and bounds. Making a dinner that makes their whole day, and giving your best friend the best nutrients for their best life. Science to that.
Here we are, driving down the road, and all of a sudden, bam! There's a crack in our windshield. You know what we can do now, though, right? Take like a cop. And we're good to go.
Hey guys, I'll be replacing the windshield feature.
kind of foregrounds, guitars, drums, microphones. It's like a lounge. At the top there's like a snake-like design, which looks like a bunch of M's written over and over again. And please translate this. This scene where the demon emerges from the wall is in the same location, and it doesn't really look like Mephisto. Maybe the devil went down to Georgia, but not Mephisto. Everyone's in their groovy 60s, 70s wardrobe. In the background and foreground, we see guitars, drums, microphones. It's like a lounge. At the top, there's like a snake-like design, which looks like a bunch of M's written over and over again. This scene where the demon emerges from the wall is in the same location, and it doesn't really look like Mephisto. Maybe the devil went down to Georgia, but not Mephisto. This could be the home of a dangerous spiritual being that uses magic as its craft. Music has been linked to witchcraft for centuries, but especially had a heavy connection in the late 60s, early 70s. Not only was this the time to create and explore the non-traditional supernatural practices, but as hippies wanted to feel more connected to the earth. That's why we got so many witchy songs like Black Magic Woman by Fleetwood Mac, Iron Butterflies, No Gotta Get Vita. Truly anything Stevie Nicks touched. Honestly, I'd argue anything that Mama Cass touched too. I think it's more linked to being a great famous group of witch singers because at D23 they released these posters, Agatha Harkness and the Puppet. So she's really like Fleetwood Mac with Stevie Nicks. Their song is the Ballad of the Witch's Road, so it looks like they have to sing it like that. And maybe again, and maybe again. They absolutely did Patti LuPone to look like Liza Minnelli here, and Jennifer Gale could be doing a Diana Ross with that blowout. I'm sure they pick generic looks for everyone, but what's important is they look good. Then we see Agatha leading the coven on broomsticks. They're pulling out the witch gags for this series. And we see later Alice uses her powers while spying. They fly past the full moon, and it even works like the hourglass does, and goes through the phases to correspond with how much time they have left to finish their journey. I would truly love this series so much. We get a quick clip between Rio and Agatha, new outfits. It looks like Rio has now a flower behind her hair. She's confiding in Rio, which shows they might have a weird history together, or at least know one another. There's also a rumor that Rio was Agatha's ex-wife before Agatha got a hold of the Darkhold in the 1600s. So this letter from Agatha sounds like she clearly is using the girls for her own advantage and doesn't care about them, which isn't what a coven is. Jack Schaefer said in an interview, witches are defined by deception, treachery, villainy, and selfishness. What do you do when you have a group of witches who demonstrate those notions and you need them to work together? So we're seeing firsthand between Rio and Agatha how it might not work, because again, covens work better as sisters, trust, not betrayal. On the Witch's Road, that might get them all killed. I love this scene here of Joe Locke's character being pulled away to Jennifer's surprise. She's also holding what I think is her plant pendant. I assume from the surprise this trial was probably meant to be in music, and every time they mess up, someone gets thrown about. Then we see a witch screech to the heavens, reminder there's no sharing here with the group. We cut to Jennifer being drowned. This could be a flashback of her past, or this could be a play on her powers, how she makes potions to heal, whereas old medicine would basically kill you or create a bigger problem to heal. Let's not forget in the 17th and 18th century, witch trials, they would do a trial by water. They would throw or dunk women into a body of water, and you basically had to die to look innocent. So it wasn't really a fair trial. Agatha, as the detective, finds a new locket in a bottle of water, and she opens it to a locket. And every time they mess up, someone gets thrown about. Then we see a witch screech to the heavens, reminder there's no sharing here with the group. We cut to Jennifer being drowned. This could be a flashback of her past life, or this could be a play on her powers, how she makes potions to heal, whereas old medicine would basically kill you or create a bigger problem to heal. Also, let us not forget in the 17th and 18th century, witch trials, they would do a trial by water. They would throw or dunk women into a body of water, and you basically had to die to look innocent. So it wasn't really a fair trial. Agatha, as the detective, finds her new locket in a body of water, and she opens it to a lock of hair. It's common to keep someone's hair after passing in a locket since it doesn't decompose. It can also symbolize eternal life. This could also be Wanda's lock of hair since it was found at the Wanda crime scene. It could also just be a piece of Agatha's brown hair, a pendant to remind her she needs to claw her way out of Wanda's nightmare she created. Then we get Agatha and Joe Locke's character in the closed-off room, lights flickering and exploding. She could be helping him get his powers back, or helping him find something deeper within himself that he just couldn't find. Then we see an older woman and a dark figure behind her. This could be our introduction of the Salem Seven. The Salem Seven are supposed to be the daughters of the witches killed by Agatha seeking revenge, so this could show the mother that Agatha killed and the daughter right behind her. We see them again in the trailer splitting into separate beings, and I think this is them at the same scene where the swords are falling. As Agatha screams, "I want my prize," we see Jennifer Gale pulling herself from the ground. Behind her, it looks like Westview. They say the Witch's Road is a death wish, but if there's a chance you succeed on the Witch's Road, perhaps you just pop out where you once came, which would be Westview for this. We see Rio steps out with her dagger, and her character is equipped as a warrior witch with a dagger, which we know from the motion material. Back to the demon shooting fire in the music studio. On both sides of the demon are the witch trials. And Agatha says,
Last one there is a nice person.
she's as dirty as when she's crossing that bridge with Joe Locke's character, so I wonder by this point if there's no one else with them and they're just left the two of them. And then that's it for my breakdown of the Agatha All Along trailer for D23. Good 20%.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Boston. This is a breakdown of Marvel's Agatha All Along, episodes 1 and 2. Stick us down the road, and episode with fate unlocked by hidden. We are so back. Witching spells, stitching beers, and itching for Mephisto here on New Rockstars. It's like the show was designed for us. It's like, I was made for this. And it will be our honor to guide you down this witch's possessive road for Easter eggs, secret layers of meaning, and every detail you might have missed. Thanks for sponsoring this video. And I want all of your thoughts, your theories, your questions every Thursday at 11 time on the Break Room channel, where Jessica and Brandon and Evan and Zach and John and I will be streaming live in a weekly Agatha Roundtable with all of you. So let's keep this conversation going over there. Okay, for the first time, Marvel Studios unveils its Marvel television logo. It uses the same initial rapidly clipping comic book images that Marvel Studios. For example, we want to use this is the best of the Iron Man to the Thor Wrestler armor from 2003's Invincible Iron Man number 64, this and several other familiar images are now filtered through an Entity-inspired 90s television graphics package that flickers with interference and glows the logo through these RPG cells and then sharply the black logo.
You can feel it. It's different. It's special.
Starting in 2024, Marvel has aimed to brand titles like All Along and Marvel television to distinguish the stories from Marvel Studios films. We open on The Road, not The Road by Brittany Jersey Road, being driven by Annabelle Harkness or Detective Agnes O'Connor as she thinks she's blind as she hunts.
They bring him down, and he's going to lose the yard on that one. This defense has kept him backed up.
This is the triple assault on third series. And the fact that Agnes is helping its fear tells us that it's really Solomon's already in she trains down any road. There's really only one road that she wants to move out for. Later, Agnes even likens this particular road.
Marvel threw up just acting like I was making this shit. Hey.
Mental spell to think she's still living in a dreamy world despite the sitcom over the town of West Union. So this series is set 3 years after. So speed timeline in this 2026. The character of the Harkness began as the government's Fantastic Four, Richards and Sue Storm. She came back in the 80s West Coast Adventure storyline as kind of a nanny figure to Wanda and Vision's kids, revealed to be a witch who was really serving the Fisto. She never really had her own solo run. So this show has quite a bit of bandwidth to the character of the Harkness, whatever they want it to be. It's truly a classic TV spin-off in which they're just making the character of her own. Now back in WandaVision, Wanda's spell seems to play her own games, but now is in a crime drama reality that's based on the HBO series Bear in Easttown. Catherine O'Hara is dressed like an Indiana Kate Winslet's working-class Pennsylvania detective, and these opening shots are recreating the events of the second episode of Easttown, with starting with the scene which the woman is at 10, in the woods, Wanda Maximoff.
Woo! I read it and I still threw it.
That's the switch from sitcom to crime drama. Of course, driving here, as we see this too, she's really just sitting in her living room, pressing her feet on the list of cereal. And along with the acting of the writers willing to the lengths to justify why. David Payton returns from WandaVision as Wesley Brixton, John Collins, or and these opening shots are recreating the opening events of the second episode of Barry Stanley, where Aaron's driving and focusing which the young boys out dead. Crick, Wanda Maximoff still Dr. Strange is alter the spell to be focused just right on the dead. Thus the switch from sitcom to crime drama. The worst as he is carrying on and driving. She's really just sitting in her living room, pressing her feet on pieces of cereal. And along with the acting of the writers willing to the lengths to justify why.
This series is not going to be tied in. This is
Of course, Agatha's next to as you see those two, she's really just sitting in the living room, pressing her feet on pieces of cereal. And along with the acting of the writers willing to the lengths to justify that. David Payton returns from WandaVision as Wesley Brixton, John Collins, or Herb, the neighbor, as he returns next. He says, of course, in there, this is a neighbor. He's behind that rocket yellow police tape, which in reality is probably John saying, hey, neighbor, from behind his row of yellow flowers. Which references disciplinary action against the subject.
Trying to see if they can battle the
suspension by one of its people must do actually John Collins makes this up in punching choice here, and when he says we're very sound, or it's very fine sounding live in this hilarious murder sketch. But local singer notes that Warcher is closer to how they say it. Really summarizes the movie. So Payton really did the research that he nails it here. He says, This referring to Wanda's end in Multiverse Madness when the Darkhold Temple on top of Mount Luminar collapsed on top of her. The walls of that temple actually contained Wanda's original etchings of the Darkhold's text. So in a way, it was kind of the original Darkhold.
This bitch really ran.
People like favorite pair of kids did. Yeah, your son was getting big baby. It's a tablet explosion of your own and sign up for their VIP program. Just click on the link in the description below. But then they tease us.
She's done her.
Oh, she's really close to the
I don't know.
They're referring to the fact facts that when the temple collapsed, we did see a mysterious red glow in the rubble that could have been Wanda's death, or even her teleportation, or just her transition into some other realm or some other form. Over the years, Kevin Feige, Elizabeth Olsen have indicated that Wanda could come back in some form in the future, and indeed, the last week, people have discovered a copyright notice of a Scarlet Witch movie that might be coming in 2026.
Yeah.
From inside his own tent, he'll try to help out
Don't
their
know
real
or
position.
you won't say.
Couldn't find a way to create that broken
The
field as he
rocks
stopped
landed
at
on her.
25.
Yeah, and there was a red light,
All right, guys, so
And there was a
here's
red
the
light.
an explosive energy.
Stuff, yeah.
But the wording of
Go on. Turned forward there in the first half.
You gotta give the defense credit on both sides. They've been physical. They've been making plays. So now, which of these offenses can break the tie? It's not going to be easy. But this defense now taking the ball in the first and second half. Giving the defense a
which was 24 seconds.
Did you not just say that? It sounded painful.
Jump
I
on
just
spies.
don't know.
It took 138 iterations to refine the tip of chess, but it also took 150 and 52 all-nighters.
I'm pressed.
This is the most I can do it today. 0% APR financing for 60 months on a great 2024 table.
Gels for faster, stronger, and longer-lasting relief than Tylenol rapid release gels. Because Advil targets pain at the source of inflammation. So for faster pain relief, Advil, the pain relief.
American Microbial Line and Southern New Hampshire University. I was spontaneous to realize my purpose in action.
In the corner of Munchkin Hill, the wicked witch to the east this way. So Agnes sees this Jane Joe corpse and reaches for her chest as if wanting to touch the brooch that would normally be there. Like later, notice when she's changing out her costume, she always starts with a reach to this region. The corpse is barefoot to its flat fingers. It's a common trope of corpses in crime dramas to focus on the deceased, discolored fingers and toes, but in this case, the black fingers is the character of someone who uses the dark hole. Agnes finds her brooch in a comb, and her reflection is placed perfectly over it so that it aligns the brooch exactly where it would be in her chest. They roll the body of Agnes' position, and the head being put in this person. This opening scene, much of this episode, clearly wants us to think that this body belongs to Wanda Maximoff. They identify it as female, her expression is so heavy, the scarlet hair from her cheeks, but then we must ask, why on earth there did Wanda go to the Witch's Road? I don't want to deny that this body with Wanda is possible. I think Wanda is still alive. Somehow there may be returning. I'm just not positive that it will be on this series. So here is an alternate theory. This episode also likens the corpse with the book of the Darkhold itself. It's telling you that the rescue driver, which ruined his body, and the previous possessors of it being Wanda and Agatha. So I think the corpse is just the Darkhold reinforced the human body in this time period. Also, I think that making this book into a dead body could be pointing to the possibility that it may have been Joe Locke's character, who might be the son of Nicholas Scratch. And right now, she's just seeing the corpse's angel because the Darkhold text has really a feminine quality to it. As the text that foretells the Scarlet Witch, where Ryan says,
Looking downfield.
That nigga got a Paul song bottle.
Wanda's hair was never as red as the hair under the bush. So it may just be the Scarlet Witch. In this case, it's just Scarlet's Harry. As we proceed, I'll point to some other clues that corpse equals Darkhold equals Mickey Scratch equals T equals Agatha sacrifice the sun. Since Mayor of Easttown doesn't have an opening title sequence that used HBO's True Detective with the Lopez's recording of the Ballad of the Witch's Road, the crime version, with the same male Western vocals as the True Detective theme song from season 1. In this montage, we see the shot of the main road that leads into Westview past the bumper sign. This is where Monica Rambeau stood in one episode 4. We see the police stretched across the forest floor, and the keeper trying to use this tape. As we see the visual reforms,
Let's go.
its yellow color actually makes it look like the yellow button of its eyes, which this series has definitely pulled from in several ways. Instead of the actors' actual names, you get their character names, as Agatha has really just cast it within the spell. We see Agnes O'Connor, then Norm Gentilucci, Dottie Jones, Herbert Feldman, Dennis Weber, and Mrs. Hart, which is hilarious because Agatha doesn't even know Mrs. Hart's first name. We see a scoreboard for a Westview versus Eastview football game One of these teams' mascots are the Blue Devils, which would make an interesting contrast with the Scarlet Witch, right? They're tied at 14 with 2:26 to go in the fourth quarter, but Eastview's in possession at first and 10, which would put them in a decent position to win. And True Detective style sequence is known for being surreal and spooky, and here there is an answer of either a tall statue or a serene teenager in place of a and as the police tape stretches into the midst of the forest, we see, based on the Danish series, WandaVision, which is hilarious, because they made their True Detective to the Danish art series, Wilfred Dawson, aka the King, and the final title card reads Agnes of Westview, which is clearly a step on the era of Easttown. So Agnes goes into the Westview Library and meets with librarian Dr. Jones and Sarah Proctor, which we should note was the name of a real-life 16-year-old citizen of the Salem colony who was accused of witchcraft in 1692. Dottie Moore was the one, and Dr. Jones, too, said this.
Good job looking at the details, guys.
And the library offers for a book titled Dottie and Ray, no history of learning into books, which of course later introduces the first letter used by Darkhold. The author is Andrew Ugo. Ugo is an Italian word name meaning heart or mind or spirit styles. Playing around this, Andrew Ugo is also an anagram for W. Dangerous, without the S. We almost got that. Now, there are the following dates on the library card, just for the names rest. January 18th, October 22nd, February 4th, February 16th, August 28th, June 2nd, December 28th, January 21st, and October 13th. We later see W. Maximoff on October 13th and A. Harkness on January 21st. But by this logic, in total, there have been 9 total people who have possessed the Darkhold over the years, or at least this edition of it. January 18th, 2021 was the release date of WandaVision Episode 3, when Wanda gave birth to William Tommy. February 16th is Lizzie Olsen's birthday, August 28th is Jack Kirby's birthday, June 2nd is Henry Bucky's birthday, and December 28th was Stan Lee's birthday. Dottie says this book was stolen 3 years ago, and there are more copies in Natural Sciences. And Natural Sciences is interesting because it implies that the Darkhold might be tied to Earth magic, which makes Rita the Doll an even more interesting figure from Agnes' past. Agnes asks Dottie where she was in the hours between 1 and 3 a.m., which she also asks of the team later, and that time of night is often known to be around the witching hour, that type of night when supernatural events take place. Now, I have to ask, what is the library outside of Agnes' illusion? Westview does have a library, remember Vision, White Vision, hidden with the Shakespeare's paradox, but I wonder if Sarah Proctor might actually go back to Salem times, and this might actually be like her own personal connection with books. Agnes goes to a bookshelf and whispers briefly through the stacks. We don't know Dennis's real name. He was just a delivery guy within the X. He was really a pizza delivery guy for the same Westview. But the fire could be referring to Wanda destroying every version of the Darkhold and Multiverse of Madness as they explain it. And how do they weave it together? They mention things like burn, or drown, or hung, or put on trial in the series because they all seem to be nods to the ways that these witches were historically persecuted. So if the Darkhold is a person, we have to imagine that person might have been burned. Agnes shows up to the police station with a donut in her mouth, another American Scott reference. Mary Jones checking out and jumping in her car. Bill Jones, real name Harold Proctor, Dottie's husband, returns their wife Agnes' boss, the police chief. She said it was a smoothie, but I'm reminded of Dottie's weird line in WandaVision Episode 2.
How does a housewife with a cloak stand and a white linen? Like doing it herself.
Now, Agnes' office is huge for a small-time detective. Detectives normally sit at, like, desks and bullpens, but she is, I guess, the star of her own show in this case. On the panel is an old photograph of a boy with a statue rabbit in front of it. Assuming this is probably connected to her son, Nicholas Scratch. Also, I could be wrong, but I think it's the Holy Grail from Indiana Jones' The Last Crusade under a desk lamp behind Agnes. I don't know, maybe she's collecting old movie rock replicas. Cheap Bill says that the soil and Jane Doe's fingernails matches the journal found in Eastern Europe, which would line up with Wanda's end atop Mount Wondergore in Eastern Europe, but it could also refer to where the Darkhold ended. Chief Jones introduces Agnes' new backup, Federal Agent Rio Vidal, played by Aubrey Plaza. She initially appears directly behind Chief Jones, but what's weird is Agnes' eyes are on Chief the entire time, so she would have seen if Rio was walking behind him, and now she's like totally shocked to see someone standing there. So Rio just kind of like apprehended here. It seems like what Agatha was to Wanda, maybe the witch's mental illusion of trying to get something out of her, Rio seems to be doing the same to Agatha in meeting this hex that Wanda placed on Agatha to sort of revenge. Within the Mary Eastern structure, Agent Vidal parallels Evan Peters' character, Colin Sable, the young state agent assigned to their his case against her, which is clearly some irony there, right? As the computers playing around with photos and Wesley's birthday being manipulated by Agatha. The clock in the background of the station reads 3:33, which is also this coming clock in the interrogation room later. These clocks never change from 3:33. Why are the clocks never change? Could 3:33 be the time it is in the outside world? Are we looking at the power of 3 times 3, the witch's number, making Mother Crone? I'm going to try to be careful with the numerology of these analyses because most of the time focusing too much on the numbers is being nothing. The creators are like, wait, what now? So like, our actress is talking about 3 to give a clue. Real says,
It's been a long time.
now, Agnes's response sounds like it was coming from Agatha Bismarck, not from the detective version. Rio does a similar thing.
Is this really Mary Susan?
And then after Rio sarcastically says Agnes has been in Westview her whole life, we get another bit of true Agnes. And as Rio walks out, she says in Spanish, Tadeo means iced cube. So even though Aubrey Plaza says it as like a goodbye, like see it up, it really means I see what you're doing. Similar to the creepy thread that Agatha inserted into the WandaVision episode 7 of new titles, I see what you are doing, Wanda. No armor really an Alice stand-in, which I prompting is hard work. When you're trying to switch for power lock, it has a built-in solution that breaks down dirt on contact. Plus, 360-degree swivel head, things that belong baseboards, and even behind the toilet. Bye-bye, bucket. It's a Swiffer power lock.
Hey, it's your skin. Treat this acne with a MAC Strength Cleanse without discomfort. New CeraVe Acne Wash.
They're going to get it for safety, trying to make something out of nothing and still got stuck in the tooth. And that's the explanation. They're going to have to find a way for the next couple of weeks, especially next week.
Oh, nice.
The secret to getting ahead is getting started.
To one mission to play a jeweler in a pawn shop and get crazy approach.
What's a calorie?
Cowrie shells are used as currency in many parts of the world, and now in Bohemian and beach-inspired jewelry, but it's also known to be part of spiritual rituals believed to have healing properties and even in some African cultures used in divination practices for the future. I would say it's pretty unlikely that the residents of 1693 Salem, Massachusetts would have their hands on that much cowrie shell, and I know Agatha got the brooch from her mother and the North harvest, but I wonder if this originally could have come from some of these witches' worldly travels to places like Greece. More on that later. Norm explains.
That's how you see it. It's triple guys. Baby, mother, crone.
So the maiden mother crone are a neo-pagan archetype representing the different stages of the female life cycle and also the phases of the moon. He reveals it's actually a locket containing a lot of hair. I think this hair belongs to Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch. Agnes's arrival home is reflected in a pothole puddle, like her puddle reflection in the crime scene. We hear a dog barking. She's a stupid dog. I'm assuming this is the dog that barks the teen later and actually helps Agnes catch him, but it's just a reminder that Agatha doesn't like dogs. She actually killed Wanda's dog, Sparky, and then laughed about it later. She peeks into an empty boy's bedroom. A kid's drawing.
Sorry, Nikki, I guess they don't want you.
For first place as best vocals in a children's choir concert. So Nicholas Scratch is, well, in common use for the devil.
I love the way you make me feel. Hey, I said I love the way.
In the Marvel Comics Fantastic Four number 185, Nicholas Scratch was Agatha's son, part of the hidden community of sorcerers called New Salem, Colorado. He fathered 7 children known as Salem's 7, and we will have a Salem 7 in this show, just as a slightly different origin. Agatha is clearly grieving the death of her son Nicholas, who I think is Joe Locke's teen character. I think it's his dark hair that she keeps in the brooch locket. I don't think he's a ghost, someone who's like just in her mind, obviously. I think his soul reincarnated in the body of a teen named Billy Kaplan. The award for Nicholas's singing could connect to the Ballad of the Witch's Room, like we don't see teen joining the ballad, but he does seem very aware of the song. Agnes's lampshade, you'll notice, has a tree branch design, which reflects the Witch's Room tree All along logo, Agnes they took it off of their car in Eastview an hour before the time of death, and that there might have been 2 people responsible for the death who transported his body. And if we're sticking with the corpse equals dark hole theory, then the 2 people responsible for its destruction could be one of Maximum and Stephen Strange. Agnes says,
Air travel. Worldly. Where have you traveled?
Another moment where Agatha breaks out of her illusion briefly to reflect on her life as a witch. It really feels as though Agatha and Rio might have traveled the world together, maybe to the Greek Isle of Santorini to meet the witch goddess Hecate, or Hecate. All different ways to pronounce it, but it's Hecate, actually. Wanda does this with Agatha's ghost in the 2016 James Robinson Scarlet Witch comics, which first introduces the Witch's Road concept. Rio again asks a question that speaks to their past together, and then packages it with something within the detective world.
Do you remember why you hate me? No. Are you hiding evidence?
Rio says that Agnes is only lying to herself, and we should note that while Agnes's home is filled with evidence boxes that she took home, even when she's out of Wanda's spell later, there are still evidence boxes in the house. Agnes finds Teen hooded and masked in her bedroom, holding what looks like that brooch. And I love the framing showing Agnes reflected in the mirror, showing that whenever Agatha looks at this kid, she really sees herself. We see that same glass reflection effect in the interrogation room later. Agnes chases the teen in a Mare of Easttown style foot chase through the neighborhood alleys, and then the kid gets run over by Sharon Davis. So, Agnes's reaction in this moment is very important, because she reacts not as a detective chasing down a burglar, but rather, honestly, like a mother watching her child run into the street. Even her saying, "Don't you run after me," was kind of like a mom trying to put her toddler in timeout. So Teen sasses Agnes later.
What were you looking for in my house?
The respect of your peers in a fulfilling home life. But you were fresh out of those.
She kicks this poor boy. Between this and the car collision, I don't think Teen has a normal human teenager constitution. He's pretty tough. Agnes says,
The things that you're roasting me for are the things that make me dangerous.
again, roasting. Now, yes, technically Teen is roasting her, mocking her, but for things that a normal kid probably wouldn't. Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is the breakdown of Agatha All Along, episode 3, Through Many Miles of Tricks and Trials, an episode that will forever live in infamy as the first and perhaps only instance in which our Dark Lord and absent savior was finally named in the MCU.
And aided to Mephisto.
Ah! Hearing this sent me spiraling through a state of euphoria, but now that I've seen beyond the cosmic event horizon, my eyes have dilated to catch countless details, references, and clues in this episode, so I'm going to break it down scene by scene for everything that you might have missed. And I want to hear all of your thoughts, your theories, and your questions every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on the Break Room channel, where Jessica, Brandon, Evan, Zach, and I will be streaming live in a weekly Agatha Roundtable Q&A. Subscribe to the Break Room, and let's keep the Mephisto train chugging along over there. So this is the episode where we get a sense of this show's episodic structure, with each trial along the Witch's Road operating kind of like its own escape.
With T-Mobile for Business, our internet and voice bundle saves you more than 30% versus big cable. Add mobile for even greater value and get the most out of America's largest 5G network. Switch and save.
What does your fridge say about you?
Room, based on some pop culture reference of sisterhood and witchcraft. Showrunner Jack Schaefer said that this really came from the original trials witches would have to go through, including a fire trial, a water trial. We open with our coven on the Witch's Road.
That's exactly how I pictured it.
Yes.
Episodic structure, with each trial along the Witch's Road operating kind of like its own escape room, based on some pop culture reference of sisterhood and witchcraft. Showrunner Jack Schaefer said that this really came from the original trials witches would have to go through, including a fire trial, a water trial. We open with our coven on the Witch's Road.
That's exactly how I pictured it.
Yes. Suits you.
An interesting compliment coming from Agatha, and I think she's talking about not just the teen's goth vibe, but the DIY nature of his approach to witchcraft. The production design of the Witch's Road set was all done practically, and you can see in behind-the-scenes featurettes that some trees designed to eliminate colors like teal were really bent in a way to kind of look like a hooded ghost. Mary Lavanos also talked about how they use miniatures for the background locations that were seen from a distance. It's all done to evoke the practical nature of Victor Fleming's 1939 The Wizard of Oz, Oz, which used a lot of the same techniques. These witches note that Salem 7 chased Agatha down here, but not all of them. But as Agatha walks ahead, Catherine Hahn does this kind of arm flap gesture that kind of makes it look like she's calling them chickens. Jennifer Kale says that she's going to call the teens' parents, and he says he's 100% certain they're asleep. Could we take that to mean they're dead? It's just, he keeps talking about parents, but, you know, we don't really know what's going on with his teen. Sharon says,
Okay, I am a member of the Westview Historical Society.
Ah, so Westview has a historical society, and I'm going to go out on a limb to say that Sarah Proctor might be another member of that group. A theory that I posed last week is that when Agnes went down to the library to talk to the librarian version, Dottie, when Agatha was still in her Mayor of Easttown spell, that since all of Agatha's movements seem to really be confined to her and her neighbors' houses, that might have actually just been Sarah's house. And Sarah Proctor, with a name dating back to real-world Salem witch trials, could have possessed the Darkhold in her personal book collection in her house. Actress Emma Caulfield Ford was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and this talk of a failed public transit system beneath Westview, a town that never seemed like it had more than a few thousand people living in it, reminds me of an old WandaVision theory that I had, that there might be a Hellmouth under Westview, the way Sunnydale High School had a Hellmouth beneath it in Buffy. Like, Sharon is definitely talking about some Jordan Peele Us tunnel beneath Westview, and I want to know what's really down there, and what that beekeeper who we saw in WandaVision episode 2 and then in WandaVision episode 4 was really crawling through. Also, why Westview, New Jersey? Like, why did Vision choose this town for him and Wanda? And how far was Agatha when she first sensed Wanda's hex forming? And look, I know the show is implying that witches and witchy people are like everywhere in any 3-mile radius, but like Lily Calderu, Jennifer Kale, Lorna Wu's daughter Alice Wu are pretty high-profile witches to all be within just a few miles of where the Scarlet Witch caused her big stir. And I just think it's possible that Vision might have chosen this town because his Mind Stone and its divine wisdom sensed a wellspring of magic in this town in New Jersey that would just end up being important to helping Wanda unlock her true self. And speaking of Agatha's run-in with Dottie, aka Sarah, and what she was really doing there, Scarlet Witch Updates on Twitter pointed out a promo shot showing the moment that Agatha kicks Teen out of the chair, but in the real world, outside of the spell. So that tells us that in some future episode, we're going to revisit the events of episode 1, but see it from the point of view of Teen and the other neighbors, including probably Sarah. Now, Agatha, hilariously, still cannot remember Mrs. Hart's actual name.
Hey, she has a name. It's Mrs. Hart.
Now, for this, I actually blame Wanda's spell for just being that effective on Agatha's mind that, like any great TV show, we don't even care what the actor's name is, we just know them as the character they played. Teen encourages this coven to embrace the craft in witchcraft.
Well, I'll be. Someone's put a sigil on that book.
Teen and the other neighbors, including probably Sarah. Now, Agatha, hilariously, still cannot remember Mrs. Hart's actual name.
Hey, she has a name. It's Mrs. Hart.
Now, for this, I actually blame Wanda's spell for just being that effective on Agatha's mind that, like any great TV show, we don't even care what the actor's name is, we just know them as the character they played. Teen encourages this coven to embrace the craft in witchcraft.
Well, I'll be. Someone's put a sigil on that.
They played. Teen encourages this coven to embrace the craft in witchcraft.
Well, I'll be. Someone's put a sigil on that boy.
So in this instance, it looks like Joe Locke's mouth moves even less, like one, but definitely not more than 2 syllables, which could fit Billy, because the Lee of Billy doesn't require the jaw to drop a second time. Like Billy. Like the Lee is just kind of slipping in there under the chin. Definitely check out my video with all the evidence that he's probably Billy Kaplan, but there's also probably a bit more to the story. Jack Schaefer explained more of the decision behind this sigil to the rap, saying, for the aesthetic on his mouth, the original idea was that it was a redaction bar, because that is what the spell is. It's something being held back in a manner that is, it's a spell that's kind of clumsy. Like a more sophisticated spell would just hide the whole thing, but it sort of shows its amateurness. So the original idea that I wrote was that it was a redaction bar that sort of had the sound that goes with it. So by describing the spell as clumsy and amateur, it kind of suggests that the teen might have placed it on himself. Schaefer also described the sigil as sans serif, as a contrast to the serif witchcraft of the more experienced witches in like typography typography is just a curved little tail that goes in certain typed fonts. Like Times New Roman is a serif font, Arial is a sans serif font. Teen asks Agatha,
why would someone want to hide me? Look.
And then Agatha literally pushes Teen behind her body to hide him from the point of view of the camera angle. Agatha,
I do everything.
My baby's got a sensitive stomach. My baby needs something for...
Fuck your baby.
claims this type of sigil magic is beneath her, but I think she knows, or at least suspects, more of the reason why Teen might have this sigil on his mouth than she's letting on. Agatha goes down the line to remind each of these witches of their wants. For Jen, it's to unbind. For Lilia, it's to reverse her fortunes. And then for Alice, it's to learn what really happened to her mom. And it's very Wizard of Oz in the way that the wizard goes down the line to award each member of that group their prizes. But Sharon's not there, and she merely gets swallowed by the mud under a tree that's right off the path. And Agatha has to explain that the lyric, I stray not from the path, means literally to never step off the road, which makes me think that these fallen leaves that cover the path and seem to change color as they go further down the road based off the trailer footage might have a kind of floor is lava logic to them that protects the witches from the muck of the rest of this forest. They find their first trial, a beachside mansion.
Maybe this is the end.
Don't be such a bummer.
This house will end up being the end for Sharon, and after Teen responds, notice that Agatha side-eyes him for a beat, carefully watching this kid who seems to be enjoying this trial more than the rest of them are. Lilia observes the carving on the door matching the bases of the moon, and Teen sees the circle in the middle matching the craters visible on our moon, meaning that this house represents the full moon, and he says the water phase. Now, we've been seeing a lot of lunar imagery in the closing credits, and I even speculated in our July trailer breakdown that the trials might actually correspond to the phases of the moon. So that's one theory you got right out of probably 100 wrong. But there are varying correlations online between the phase of the moon, which are new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, third quarter, waning crescent, and the four elements of water, fire, air, and earth. I've seen some sites even saying new moon is really the water phase, but full moon also makes sense because that's when the moon is slightly closest to the earth at perigee, and tides are higher than normal as a result. And notice that as soon as the door closes, inside the six of them suddenly shift into this preppy country club attire, like straight out of a Nora Ephron movie, or in this case, straight out of Big Little Lies. The HBO series even gets referenced if you listen closely to the background.
Have you seen huge tiny lies?
Yeah, they say huge tiny lies, which is like Big Little Lies. Now, I don't think there's any witchcraft in Big Little Lies, unless you consider Meryl Streep's acting a form of sorcery, because it is that enchanting, I'll admit. But it is a show with a bunch of white women and one black woman, and then there is a dead body at the end of season 1. But I'll say, I think of Deborah Jo Rupp in this episode as being kind of the season 2 Meryl Streep scene stealer. You'll also notice that the moment we go inside, the aspect ratio has changed from the more cinematic widescreen outside on the Witch's Road to more TV, HBO, common taller ratio inside. WandaVision would often shift aspect ratio to signal a changing TV format aesthetic. They also note that they all still have their amulets. And let's look closely at these, because you can get them at Hot Topic, apparently. Jennifer Kale's looks like a potion bottle. Lilia's necklace, according to the jewelry artist who designed it, called this the Sun Tarot card in silver, saying that it represents love, joy, satisfaction, accomplishment, and success. Before I said it might be the Queen of Cups tarot card, but that tarot card, according to Jess, does have a sun that's behind the figure. Alice's, to me, looks like a heart, which might connect to the Three of Swords tarot card. Rio's necklace, which we don't see in this episode because Rio's not in this episode, is the dagger that she carries, and this specific curved dagger is also carried by Death in the Death tarot card. And we have some amazing designs that are inspired by Agatha all along, available at nerdriot.shop, including this really cool Witch's Road shirt. We have a Blood Moon shirt. These are the best way to support what we're doing here at New Rockstars. Please grab one of those. It's a great holiday gift option, nerdriot.shop. Sharon says,
Oh my God! Bury me in that kitchen!
More foreshadowing, that kitchen will literally be the room where she expires. Teen finds a card on the mantle. The Witch's Road cordially invites you to the first trial, and there's a painting behind it over the mantle showing two women floating in a pool, or maybe it's just the same woman mirrored in the surface of the water. Agatha says,
What is this? A wedding? Please God, not a baby shower.
If Agatha sacrificed her baby boy for the Darkhold, it makes sense that she wouldn't want to be around babies. And sure enough, this episode will end with her crawling toward a baby crib. Jen reads the riddle on the back of the card.
My age has value. I'm no fun alone. I mess with your mind. My tricks are well known.
Agatha says it sounds like a witch. Jen says it sounds like Agatha, and Agatha's like, but the sheriff realizes it's why. They find a bottle of Spanish Red Reina. 2016, episode 1 of WandaVision, a bottle of Maison du Mépris had all of us thinking that this was going to be a House of M story. Here we have Reina Rioja, and it's just like a type of red wine, but you know, if you were to change the spelling to R-E-I-N-A, Rioja, you might get like some kind of version of Red Queen. Jen warns team to watch us back with Agatha.
Did you know she traded her own child for the Book of the Damned?
So this confirms it. The reason the library card attached to the corpse belonged to a library book, a book whose first letters spelled out Darkhold, written by Andrew Ugo, which is an anagram for Wundagore, is that the corpse was a projection of Agatha's sacrifice, the child sacrifice that Jen hinted at in episode 2. Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch, in exchange for the Darkhold. The episode ends by showing Agatha reliving her memory of finding the Darkhold in Nicholas's baby crib. This actually could have been what pissed off the Salemite witches that much.
You stole knowledge above your age and station. You practiced the darkest of magic. They simply bent to my power.
Additionally, if you look back at WandaVision, it gives some context to one odd moment in episode 5 that was never resolved or explained.
You can fix anything, Mom. Fix it dead.
What? You can do that?
And the fact that in that moment, Agatha was cradling a corpse in her arms as she was asking that makes me now think she might have been dwelling on Nicholas in that moment. In fact, maybe the previous time Agatha went down the Witch's Road, she was trying to get her son back. Now, Jen seems to be hinting that there is some trace of Nicholas Scratch possessing the teen. For now, I'm going to stick with Billy Kaplan of Eastview, future Wiccan, and that he might have been in that car accident and the near death in Westview that we see under Joe Locke's name in the credits of every episode, an article dated December 14th, 2023, and that he was only saved by some spirit possessing his nearly dead body. That could have been Nicholas Scratch. We get another clue in this episode pointing to this possibility in just a bit. But we've arrived at the moment. Jen goes on to say the words that might have been written just for us.
They say no one really knows what happened to him. They say he might be dead. Others say he might be a demon. Or an agent of Mephisto.
They said it! They actually said it! It doesn't feel real! And I don't care if this is the only time the MCU utters this name, or if it was just thrown into the script as like a one-time pity gesture to nerds like us. We'll take it! But okay, before we start severing our head off with wire and hailing payment in a treehouse, some real talk. I would be surprised if this show actually links Nicholas Scratch to Mephisto if they come out and say it right here in episode 3. If they were gonna do Mephisto here, I think the writing would just more cautiously hint at it in other ways. Unless they're gonna still do Mephisto and they're actually gonna surprise us with like a big cast cameo. Like maybe they're saying his name here and then they're going to reveal that's who Rio Vidal actually is. We should also know that there is room in the cast billing for another high profile name like Sacha Baron Cohen, who has been rumored to be playing Mephisto in Ironheart. Like all 3 episodes so far, closing credits, have shown the main cast members one after the other with corresponding images, but then after Ali An, there are 2 open slots, the pentagram over the map of Westview, and then the girl in the Halloween mask, followed by with Dover Joe, with Patti LuPone, and Aubrey Plaza, or at least Aubrey Plaza was in episode 1 on that tarantula shot, and the next 2 episodes, the tarantula shot has just been empty. Now, when it comes to cast order, that's something negotiated by agents in these actors' contracts. The lead star is always first billed, and then after that, you have the other smaller names, but the biggest names after the lead come at the very end, preceded by the word with. And. Hey, it could just be that Jen is referring to the common historical associations with the name Nicholas Scratch with the devil. Also, when Marvel Comics introduced Nicholas Scratch as Agatha's son and leader of Salem's 7 and Fantastic Four number 185 in 1977, that's really where they derived the name. But also, Nicholas Scratch's most recent appearance in Marvel Comics was back in 2006's Marvel Knights 4, numbers 26 to 27, where Nicholas Scratch resurrects and poses as Doctor Strange with a plan to summon Shuma-Gorath to Earth. Franklin and Valeria Richards banish Nicholas Scratch to Hell, and in Hell, Nicholas Scratch agrees to become an agent of Mephisto in a coming war. And we never really hear from Nicholas Scratch after that. So we'll see if Mephisto comes up again, but for now, I think it goes without saying, Agents of Mephisto, spin that off as a Disney Plus series and let me cameo in it, please. But as I rewatch this scene, which I have like a dozen times now, I'm increasingly interested in Teen's reactions. He starts off in denial, but he gets increasingly tense as Jen speculates, and when Mephisto comes up, there's something in his eyes that looks downright hostile as Jen walks away. Notice notices his hand claws angrily or anxiously, but there's something going on there. This could all just be the Teen grappling with these uncomfortable truths that he's learning about his idol, but I think there's some part of him feeling threatened about being exposed. Like, there's something that changes in Teen after the scene. He gets more urgent, more forward. You know, I can't think of the last day where I wasn't online in some way, for work, for my personal life, for entertainment. Slash new Rockstars for 4 months extra on a 2-year plan with a 30-day money-back guarantee, or just click the link in the description below. Thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Agatha pours the wine and Sharon just downs hers. Behind Sharon is a painting of a woman in a red dress that's wading out into the sea, maybe offering herself to the sea to just end it all. 30 minutes are now on the timer, and Agatha says,
"So, 2 harbingers of doom?"
No, this is not a Dr. Doom reference. They cheers, and Teen notice pantomime's having a wine glass just to join in the fun, and he asks,
I have some.
You bet.
While the others all say no, Agatha says, you bet. If she is projecting Nicholas Scratch on this kid, she is totally okay with this youth endangering himself. So notice that we see these women drink and finish their wine in this order. Sharon chugs her initial pour immediately and then refills and then finishes that before we see anyone else finish. That second pour is the pour that was going to go to the Teen. So in a way, she was kind of his sin eater. Alice finishes second. Jen, we see having drank some of her wine, but then just sniffs it. Similar with Lily Calderu, who's just kind of like nursing hers, and then Agatha pours her wine out in the plant. And that's the order that we see the effects take over these witches. Teen notices Alice's tattoo. Alice says that she got it in Colorado when her mother Lorna Wu was playing Red Rocks. So the Red Rocks Amphitheater is one of the country's biggest and most famous outdoor venues, rivaling the Hollywood Bowl. It's rumored to be haunted. There's a witch of Red Rocks, and even a hatchet lady of Red Rocks, who appears at the highest point of the rock peaks, and it's described as headless. Teen recognizes the tattoo as something gained to ward off spells. The outer ring are Chinese ideographs, while the ones in the inner rings we couldn't make out. Overall, I think this might be a similar kind of rune as what Agatha and Wanda used in their final battle to draw the line of where dark magic can and cannot be. Alice said,
T-Mobile's 5G network connects 100,000 Delta employees, so they can make every customer feel like they've arrived before they've left the ground. This is how business goes further with T-Mobile for Business.
America. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Life, liberty.
This is the trauma with her mother happened at age 13 for her. And Teen says this.
Happened to me at 13 too.
So, since Teen is now 16 years old, and this show is set 3 years after WandaVision in 2026, he might be referring to that Near Death in Westview headline that was dated December 14th, 2023. It kind of seems like after Jen calls him out, Teen is now shifting to being more open, more forward, and trying to endear himself to the other witches. Like, notice how later he starts to turn on Agatha and call her out for cheating.
Drink. Fine. Then I will.
So Agatha's wine glass refills automatically, kind of like the spell Doctor Strange places on Thor's mug that automatically refills with beer in the Doctor Strange post-credit scene, and in the scene in Thor Ragnarok. That was a practical effect at the time. And now, which is really fun, when Allion picks up the glass and they cut to a new angle where there must be a concealed hose running up her arm. I love that kind of stuff. And the fact that they have to drink it all reminds me of Regulus Black's spell in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I didn't think locket, Horcrux at the base of the bowl with a potion that must be drunk to completion, and it really took a toll on Michael Gambon. He was like, I don't want to go. Hey, you know something crazy? I just learned that Jared Harris is Richard Harris's son. Jared Harris, Lane Price from Mad Men, was just calling out the new HBO Harry Potter show, like, why'd you need to do it? The other one was perfect. It's just crazy how everyone's related. Anyway, so Sharon's face puffs up to a Botox infection nightmare. Same for Alice and Jen and Lilia. And Lilia don't seem to mind the change. But the swelling goes back down, and Jen identifies the poison as Alewife's Revenge. So an alewife is a fish, a herring. There is a very obscure X-Men character named Alewife from 2011's Shame Itself, a fish mutant who pops up briefly in a dream reality created by Professor X to test the X-Men. I don't know, Alewife's Revenge kind of reminds me of like the phrase a red herring, right? Like just kind of a tedious distraction that distracts you from the real threat. Agatha cracks the window glass, which creates a dilemma later when the floodwater uses this weakened pressure point to break through, making me wonder, would that floodwater have been as much of a threat if Agatha hadn't cracked the glass? Teen forces her to drink, and she chokes it down. Sharon says,
Let him breathe. Please.
She seems to be returning to the moment in WandaVision episode 1 in the Hex when Mr. Hart was choking at dinner time.
Stop it. Stop it.
But what's odd is Sharon is now using different words. She's not repeating "stop it" while laughing and crying. She's saying, "Wanda, I'm begging you, let him breathe." This could be what Sharon was really saying in her heart in that moment, or it could be a prayer that Sharon said later on when her husband, Mr. Davis, actually died in reality recently, as she was telling Agatha about in her garden. And if that's the case, that would be so sad that she prayed to the Scarlet Witch to return to Westview to help her the way she envisioned helped them in the Hex. And Agatha, in this moment, might feel a twinge of jealousy that a Westview resident sought Wanda for help, a witch who's clearly hated, but still viewed by some as a hero who could help them. Like, Agatha might be learning that there's another way for a witch to be. Jen lists off ingredients for an antidote.
I need frankincense and the gut of a eusocial insect.
Frankincense, one of the gifts given to baby Jesus upon his birth. It's a resin produced by trees and used in perfumes and incense. And it's just interesting that Agatha finds her baby in a kind of manger. And remember, she referenced Cinder Scratchy's playing baby Jesus in a child's play. Now, the gut of a eusocial insect. Eusocial means a species that organizes socially, like bees and ants. So that's how they got honey. And then a corpse that's been decaying for at least 30 million years. They're referring to zooplankton and petroleum products. Jen and Lilia find Jen's kale products, assuming that they contain petroleum despite her claims. And Lilia suddenly says this.
Try to save Agatha. Yes, I love this plan.
Okay, so these outbursts seem to be part of Lilia's divination. Her sincere, "I love you guys," earlier might have been another example of that. Is this something Agatha's mother, Evanora, said when Agatha was younger, and Agatha has held this guilt with her since she betrayed Evanora on the night of her trial? Was Evanora actually trying to spare her daughter's life, and that's something she said to the other Salemites? So in this part of the episode, Alice, Jen, and Lilia all hallucinate their greatest traumas, their greatest fears. So let's take each character one by one. Alice is initially frozen in place while her reflections on the mirrors on either side of her create this infinity effect. We saw this with Stephen Grant and Moon Knight in the museum bathroom in the first episode of that series. Alice hallucinates a steam room, and the steam becomes smoke in a dressing room of her mother, singer Lorna Wu, who flips a lighter. She says,
Your grandmother died today.
and then Lorna drinks poison. Lorna believes the women of this family share a blood curse, which reminded me of It Follows, in that when the person who gave you the curse is found by the entity now shifts direction to come after you. Final Destination works in a similar logical framework. Meanwhile, Jen's vision is triggered with this really, really cool shot. She goes to get Eye of Newt, aka mustard seed, and without the editor cutting, we stay in this one shot where she walks into the pantry, the camera pans to follow her, and then pans back to follow her into the kitchen, and the lighting has practically changed to be blue and aquatic, like Jen herself is underwater, and the doctor is now standing there. This whole idea of, hey, nothing to miss, shift the camera, return back to show a startling reveal. This effect is something that we've seen a lot in domestic horror cinema. Like Poltergeist, Tobe Hooper, or really Steven Spielberg, had the mom return to the kitchen with all the chairs suddenly arranged in stacks. In The Sixth Sense, M. Night Shyamalan had Toni Collette walk into a different room to do the laundry, and without cutting, return to the kitchen with Cole to find, all the cupboards are open. And I love it when horror movies do this, because it means some PA had to go in there and like move a whole bunch of stuff around. Jen finds this doctor, and he's wearing early 20th century medical gowns. Now, this guy's described as the doctor in the credits. He's played by Scott Butler, and he says this: an inconvenient woman. That could mean a lot of things. He drowns her. So this is all part of a new invented backstory for the character of Jennifer Kale. I feel like this doctor might have like killed a patient or just done something unethical, and Jen, as like someone else who worked with him, his assistant, his druggist, another doctor, she caught him doing this, maybe told the authorities the truth or threatened to tell the authorities, and now that he would be facing the consequences, he takes out his wrath on her. But Jen later claims that this, whatever happened here, resulted in her being bound, and that this doctor stole her power. So I'm curious to know more about this doctor. Is he still around somewhere as a sorcerer? We obviously already have a medical doctor in the MCU turned sorcerer in Stephen Strange, but hey, this could be a pretty fun backstory for Dr. Nicodemus West, Michael Stuhlbarg. Hey, I'm always trying to get Michael Stuhlbarg back in the MCU. I'm a Stuhlbarg stan. Restore the stool. Agatha and Lilia pass a ghost girl in the foreground, which is another visual horror trope. Remember, M. Night Shyamalan in The Sixth Sense had the bathrobe woman ghost pass Cole in the foreground when he was in the bathroom. But this girl is a younger version of Lilia, according to the credits, played by Chloe Camp, and she asks in Italian. So the Italian word for see is very similar to the Spanish word for to see, ver. And I should correct last week's breakdown where I said that Rio's repeated te veo is really speaking in future tense, I'll see you. But I think it's still worth pointing out that for both of these witches, this whole idea of sight and divination is kind of like equally multidisciplinary. Lilia follows her ghostly younger self into this old house that's overgrown with weeds. So between Lorna's fire, Jen's doctor's water, and this earthly house, we're kind of seeing three ways witches were persecuted: burned, drowned, buried alive. They all kind of take these different elemental forms. Lilia sees this old, rotting woman who suddenly looks up at her while a shadow of death creeps up behind her. This imagery is very similar to the nun, in the way that the nun would just kind of move via shadow, right? Very creepy. The credits describe this woman as Lilia's maestra, which means teacher. She's played by Laura Baccelletti. I wonder if this could have been a witch who taught Lilia her witchcraft at a younger age. Agatha finds Lilia speaking in Italian. So there was an Italian plague from 1629 to 1631, which was part of the larger Black Death from the previous centuries. So if Lilia is a 450-year-old Sicilian witch, this would have been something that she lived through. So
Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right
man.
team. CJ Stroud putting up points with My Lowe's Rewards.
He is really cleaning up. Come on, man. It's the cart. He's got all the cleaning supplies in his cart.
In-store, online, our Lowe's team has you covered.
they add the ingredients to form the antidote. Team gets out boiling using a sous vide, saying that his dad loves this. His dad, along with the mention of his mother, Rebecca Kaplan, seeing Lorna Wu's final concert. And now this mention of his dad would be a reference to Jeff Kaplan. It's just kind of interesting how the parents keep coming up. Jen tells Team to skirt clockwise, and he doesn't know what clockwise means. Apparently schools are now removing clocks from classrooms because Gen Z and Gen Alpha kids can't tell time on analog clocks. But later this season, Agatha and Team are going to be in an interesting location with ceiling lights that form the shape of an analog clock. Since Agatha was the last to drink her wine, her hallucination of her greatest fear comes a bit later, and she hears a baby crying, and she follows the sound to a baby basket and pulls back the blanket to reveal the Darkhold. So one wonders if this is like a metaphorical nightmare where Agatha sacrificed her son Nicholas Scratch to gain the Darkhold, or if this is literally how it happened for her. Like she made this deal with whomever, either the Darkhold's author Cthon, or maybe with Mephisto, and then she woke up in the night to the sound of her baby Nikki crying and went to him, but found instead this Book of the Damned. Do you think that Agatha knew that her son would have been taken when she made that deal? There's another cool practical transition here that's pretty easy to miss. As Catherine Hahn turns away from the kitchen sink, the blue aquatic lighting of the kitchen fades away. In the shot, the lighting shifts, and without cutting, the camera dollies back. And next when we see that kitchen island in the background, the other actors have discreetly cleared the set. But then after Agatha reacts to the book, the lighting shifts again, and the actors have all returned. But this whole moment of like a mother going to what she thinks is going to be her baby is taken directly from the Roman Polanski shot in Rosemary's Baby, when Rosemary confronts the Satanist cult, but is suddenly transfixed by her baby and slowly pulls back the curtain to see...
What have you done to it? What have you done to its eyes?
Those vocals of a woman wailing totally inspired the Lopez's music of the closing credits of every episode of WandaVision. After Agatha returns from her Darkhold hallucination, the first person to talk to her is Teen.
What did you see? Nothing.
I think he knows what she saw. So they have to use a strand of each of their hair for the brew, which recalls Agatha using Wanda's hair to open a memory journey in WandaVision Episode 8, and Doctor Strange plucking a strand of Thor's hair to locate Odin in Ragnarok, and Strange, I think, even using Peter Parker's hair for the memory spell in Spider-Man No Way Home. Agatha reassures Jen.
They can take your power, Jen.
Jen remembers they need blood from the unpoisoned. Without hesitation, Agatha slices Teen's palm. They drink the potion. With 10 seconds left, they pass the potion like a fire brigade down to Sharon, and the oven pops open.
That happened to a friend of mine once. She had a lovely house, too.
Obviously referencing the witch from the Grimm Brothers fairy tale of Hansel and Gretel, the kids who shoved that witch into an oven. But the floodwaters rush in. Now, behind-the-scenes footage shows that they actually flooded this set, and that's really cool, because actors actually get paid more if they get wet enough in a scene to be visibly dripping. According to our colleague Joanna Robinson, the cast and crew of Lost called this a wet bump, because it was often raining on that set. But sometimes it was just humid and drizzling, or wet from a recent rain shower. So the standard for a wet bump in your pay on that day is that you must be visibly dripping, and that's why the water only comes up to these actors' knees, I suspect. Agatha doesn't want to save Sharon, but she reluctantly doubles back to help them move her, and when she gets into the oven nose, she cackles like a pirate. So the witches glide down this practical water slide, which seems like a direct homage to the Goonies, where Richard Donner's team built a whole winding water slide on the Warner Brothers' massive and historic Stage 16 soundstage in Burbank, which they actually flooded and used for the massive pirate ship. And it seems like they used the stunt performers to do the actual sliding, because they smack into each other pretty hard, but notice they rotate the camera in this overhead shot, and they must have hit a cut there, because when the camera angles up, now we see our actors standing up, and they are damp, and they are muddy, but notice they are not dripping. No wet bump. The aspect ratio also condenses back to widescreen. The teen reveals.
Sharon's dead.
Who's Sharon?
Ha, a solid callback. But it also shows that Agatha is still so solidly unsure of her reality, still in Wanda's trance, that she cannot shake what this woman was to her through Wanda's eyes. Over the credits play, the yeah-yeah-yeahs, heads will roll. For a complete breakdown of all the imagery stitched together by the design team Perception, check out last week's breakdown. Hey, a huge thanks to Brandon Barrett and Gina Ippolito for their help researching and writing this breakdown. Comment down below with your thoughts. Follow me at EA Boss. Subscribe to all 3 channels of the New Rockstars Network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. New Rockstars, The Deep Dive, and The Break Room, where every Thursday at 11 a.m. we will be live streaming, taking your questions. So subscribe to The Break Room and join the conversation there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Hit him! Hit him! Hit him! What? Hit him! Hit him! Hey. Hit him!
Yeah, mama. When you want.
La 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 la. Hit him with the 2. Hit him with the 2, Donna. Mama. Mama. Mama.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and the latest trailer for Marvel Studios' Agatha All Along does one of the weirdest things I think I've ever seen a Marvel trailer do, which has us wondering what this show is really about now that we know it's the middle act of a trilogy with WandaVision and the Vision series with Ultron. Does that mean that Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlet Witch, Wanda will definitely return in this Agatha series? Let's break down this trailer shot by shot for all the details you missed. And a reminder that the best way to support New Rockstars is to grab something from our merch store, Nerdwrite.shop. We're doing a Labor Day sale this week. Buy one, get one 50% off, site-wide, no code necessary. We got an intergalactic vacation tour design and a new Blade-inspired design. Okay, let's check out the first half of this trailer.
Confession, I know an egregious amount about you. Been obsessed since I first read up on your Salem days. That's why I saved you from the spell you were under. You're the only witch that's ever survived the witch's road.
Who are you?
I'm...
Interesting.
Interesting indeed. Now, when they first announced Joe Locke's character as just Teen, I think we all assumed that the character was being identified that way in press releases and interviews, just as the studio kind of playing coy for some weird reason that ultimately wouldn't amount to that much when these episodes came out. Like, I think we were all assuming, it's just gonna be some alternate version of Billy, aka Wiccan, and they're just being jerks about it. But now I'm wondering if something more sinister may be going on. Because here they do this crazy visual effect where they censor Joe Locke's character's name in the context of the scene. So let's roll that part of the clip again.
Who are you?
I'm...
Interesting.
And they clearly distorted the sound or inserted new sound to make this impossible to reconstruct. I know some people are listening to this and definitely hearing Billy somewhere in there, but it's just like audio pareidolia. You just want to hear Billy Kaplan, so you hear in that mishmash nonsense Billy. But you can start to figure it out based off of Joe Locke's mouth movement. And it is clear that he says either 3 or 4 syllables, but not more than 4. The mouth just does not move that much. Now, by censoring his mouth, I am reminded somewhat of the way Quentin Tarantino censored the name of the bride in Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2.
But you've got to get over being mad at me.
That'd be so funny if Teen is Mephisto.
She's coming, and she's coming to kill you.
And the way his mouth is just going to seal creepily like this is similar to Neo's mouth sealing shut in the Matrix when agents detain him and force the tracker into his navel. But specifically, the mouth is sealed from left to right, with a stroke of ink forming a cursive zigzag that looks like the shape of a W or an M or maybe both. The M, I think we're all assuming, would stand for Maximoff, if that is an M. But Scarlet Witch Updates on Twitter pointed out that this exact symbol is on the crew sweater for Agatha All Along, and it looks like WM perhaps Wanda Maximoff. And of course, back when we were covering WandaVision, we pointed out every M shape we possibly could see, like the M in the crown of Wanda's tiara, which becomes Scarlet Witch, and I definitely went overboard saying the M was always for Mephisto, and even in some cases saying it was maybe Magnus or Magneto, who was known to be Wanda's father in earlier versions of the comics and in X-Men 97 this past season, but the M was more likely for Maximoff. But, you know, maybe I'm just so scared that I'm going to be wrong about Mephisto again. I'm afraid that you say it's Mephisto. It might actually be Mephisto. I'm sorry for saying his name so many times in this video already, but we can see a certain number of syllables, either 3 or 4. If it's 4 syllables, we could have Billy Kaplan, as there has been a lot of behind-the-scenes reporting that this character is going to be named Billy Kaplan and that he has parents named Mr. and Mrs. Kaplan. If it's 3 syllables, we could just be looking at Maximoff or Mephisto, but I don't think he says the full name of Billy Maximoff, because that would be 5 syllables and Joe Locke is definitely not saying 5. But I just love the artistic choice to make this censoring in this form of the ink stroke left to right, because it makes it seem like someone is writing his name shut here. It's kind of like the ink of the name W. Maximoff on the library card, Quark's toe tag, and the other trailer shot. I think what we are looking at is Wanda's residual magic that is blocking Agatha from hearing his true name. And to be clear, I really do think this effect is what Agatha is actually perceiving. It's not like she hears what it is and then we are just blocked out, the viewers. What we are seeing is just so specific and artistic and expensive of a visual effect that it must be something that they actually did for the show, as opposed to just a little jokey thing that they did for the trailer. Anyway, my mind is blown by this particular effect. Marvel has never done this before, and I just think it's really cool. This video was sponsored by DoorDash. Writing, the Salemites and the Nora Harkness's coven were prominent in the area. I've heard rumors the young children of the coven escaped. Beneath that, here is a quote, tweet, or response to that, an account named Sam Sandwich tags fourth level warlock asking, look familiar, and posts an old second tone photograph of Agatha from the Victorian era. It's clearly a reference to old photos people have found of people from the 19th century who just kind of look like Nicolas Cage or Keanu Reeves and claim the actors must be immortal vampires. I love that they did this. I assume fourth level warlock could be teen, or he's neither of these accounts, and it's just scrolling through other posts people posted, but I love that they use the word familiar, because obviously familiar is also the term for a witch's companion. It's also amusing how Joe Locke in this clip says that he knows an egregious amount of information about Agatha, when egregious was a choice word that Marvel Studios just used in their official statement in response to Poe DeMayo, saying that their internal investigation of the X-Men 97 showrunner turned up egregious findings that led to his firing, and really they just left it at the word egregious for our imaginations to fill in what happened there. But
he said like egregious so much, like that was more times that I need to hear that word. Egregious. Egregious. Like, what the fuck, bro?
By the Salemites, of course, immersed in the coven we saw in WandaVision episode 8 that was led by Agatha's mother, Eleonora. The escaped children of those witches are probably the Salem 7 of this series, the 7 witches who have returned for vengeance against Agatha. Agatha is now a coven-less witch, and over the centuries she has survived by tricking other witches into joining her coven just to absorb their life forces and powers, just as she did the Salemites. So that is what we are seeing with these witches in the Victorian era. The teen says that he was the one who saved Agatha from the spell she was under, the spell of Wanda Maximoff, which tells us that that spell was still active. It wasn't Wanda's death that released Agatha from the spell, and we can deduce from that Wanda might still be out there somewhere. We see the teen sitting in this chair, chanting Latin. Now, the closed captioning reads only chanting spell, but it kind of sounds like he's saying something like, Sore Femina Defixum. With the word Femina, it kind of sounds like he's referencing the fact that Agatha is a female, and that's like part of the spell. Just a reminder that Latin has always been how these spells are communicated. Mors Monstro Naturae was the Latin chant that the Salemites said during Agatha's trial. The teen says that Agatha is the only witch who has survived the Witch's Road, telling us that Agatha has been down there before, which is interesting. This is a return trip for her. Why was Agatha in the Witch's Road in the past? Did she have to make this journey in the past to acquire the Darkhold, or maybe to learn how to use it? Later, the teen says, the road will give you the thing you want the most if you make it to the end. So you have to imagine for younger Agatha, presumably that thing would be the knowledge that her mother had to use the Darkhold. Alright, let's move on to the second half of the trip.
We need to assemble a coven to walk the road, to get our powers back.
The road will give you the thing you want the most if you make it to the end.
Shall we? It's true. It's a death wish. Can we trust her? The bodies are really piling up. We'll be safe as kittens. Okay.
Alright, Agatha tells the other witches, Jennifer Kale, Lilia Calderu, Alice Wu Gulliver, and Sharon Davis, who's returning from WandaVision, that she has to assemble a coven to walk the road so that they can all get their powers back.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not sure if Sharon Davis is a witch as well.
I'm about to put my game on rest mode, and I'm gonna come fuck with y'all
to get the thing they want the most totally evokes the Wizard of Oz, the Yellow Brick Road, and how the wizard gave each of them a gift that they wanted the most. And this series is totally embracing that parallel